Hello everybody, getting ready to do Math 6, Quarter 1, Week 6 lesson plans. Let's go right into Week 6 lesson plans for Math 6. And first of all, we have our nameplate here, our title plate. Students, put your name, date there. And let's go right into Week 6 lesson plans. So we start out here, Week 6, and we start out with our standards, which is, what's our standards for Week 6? The number system, 6.ns.4, greatest common factor, and least common multiple. And then the number system, dividing fractions, 6.ns.1. And then our lessons for Week 6 are, we go into 4.1, applying GCF and LCM, greatest common factor, least common multiple, homework, classwork homework, part 1. And then 4.1, applying greatest common factor, least common multiple, classwork homework, part 2. And then we go on to 4.2, dividing fractions, classwork homework part 1, and then 4.2 part 2, classwork homework part 2, dividing fractions. And then we go on to 3.3 part unit 1, mixed review test. So we have a mixed review test here on 3.3. We wait until now to do that. And then 3.3 mod 3 quiz. So we have a 3.3 test and quiz here in Week 6 as well. And then we go into our intro here. Find the greatest common factor of two whole numbers less than or equal to 100. And the least common multiple of two whole numbers less than or equal to 12. Use the distributive property to express a sum of two whole numbers 1 through 100. With a common factor as a multiple of a sum of the two whole numbers with no common factors. So this is the kind of tasks that we're going to be doing. And then our learning targets is interpret and compute quotients of fractions and solve word problems involving division of fractions by fractions. For example, by using visual fraction models and equations to represent the problem. And that's our dividing fractions area of Week 6. Again, resources are materials, animated PowerPoints and videos, classwork, homework, quiz, test, worksheets. Activities, tasks are all class worksheets or closed exercise from PowerPoints or MP4s. Homework, quizzes, and tests available online with corrections provided after submission dates, and access available in over 100 languages, available online 24/7, closed caption for hearing impaired, audio for sight impaired. And then classwork, you got 107 points of classwork, 65 points of note taking, 57 points for homework, 6 points of quizzing, and then 20 points for testing. That is a total of 255 points for Week 6. So again, modifications and accommodations for Week 6 available online via Google Classroom interface. And grades, classwork, homework, quizzes, tests, Zoom tutoring on request through Google Classroom. And then let's go right into 3.3. And here's your quiz for 3.3 quiz. In case you didn't take it, Week 5, you get to take it now. And then we go into 4.1 here. And 4.1, we start a new chapter here, 4.1, which is applying GCF and LCM to fraction operations. And the number system, 6.ns.4. So with 4.1, our new standard 6.ns.4, which is find the greatest common factor of two whole numbers less than or equal to 100 and least common multiple of two whole numbers less than or equal to 12. Use the distributive property to express a sum of two whole numbers 1 through 100 with a common factor as a multiple of a sum of the two whole numbers with no common factor. So that's an example using a distributive property. And you got 38 points here, classwork, and then 12 points of note-taking. Let me go into the homework. And then the homework has how many points? 16 points. And then for 4.1 part 1. Let me go 4.1 part 2. And same standard, part 2 classwork, and that's 22 points for part 2 classwork. And then the homework is 17 points for part 2 4.1 homework. And then we go into part 1 of 4.2 here, 4.2 part 1 classwork. And then 4.2 part 1 classwork is interpret is 6.ns.1 interpret and compute quotients of fractions and solve word problems involving division of fractions by fractions. For example, by using visual fraction models and equations to represent the problem. 25 points here on your classwork for 4.2 part 1, and then 2 points of note-taking. And then we should go in here to 4.2 homework part 1, same standard. And then for the homework, you got 10 points of homework for part 1. And we go into 4.2 part 2 classwork, 22 points of classwork, 4 points of note-taking. And then we go into our homework, which is 24 points for 4.2 part 2. And that's homework. And is that it? I think that's it. Well, we go into another mixed review here, 20 points again for that if needed. And we'll have another assessment check here for the student. And that is Math 6, Week 6, Quarter 1 lesson plans, anime PowerPoint math video at AO.com for questions, course materials. Thank you very much.